Hello everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat. Everybody, Cantonese Cat just made a post on X and went through about 40 different stocks. It was a little bit of a lazy pose. I basically tried to minimize a stock to basically tell everyone that it's good, very good, okay, bad. It's kind of a little bit of a silly idea, but I kind of want to just go through rapid fire here as much as I can to talk about my reasoning, my thinking in terms of coming up with this list like that. First, I'm going to go through the very tip top here when it comes to Coinbase. Here's the weekly chart. What you're seeing here is really that it is entering again ARCT. You're kind of getting stuck here in again ARCT jail, if you will. It got initially broke out and haven't really had a proper back test, and now we're kind of going through the back test, broke through underneath the top ARCT, getting close to a little bit to the bottom ARCT over here. There might be a little bit more room to go down. But you can see how it went out into ARCT over here. Sometimes you get stuck over here for a while, sometimes you just end up reversing it right away whenever it's done grabbing its liquidity and test the proper level. So it's hard for me to tell in terms of whether or not that's the case. I don't know for sure, but I do think that around 300, around 290s to 300 is probably going to be a very, very good, sexy zone, if you will. Also, because if you look at Ichimoku, you have the baseline over here around 293, and this applies to the baseline here around 293. And 2-week chart as well as the Tenkan up here around 293. Usually, whenever price is a little bit overextended above and it gets a little bit closer to the monthly Tenkan around 293 here, that's usually a very, very good zone. If it breaks down, that's okay. Right now, I think we are at an order block zone, so I think area around like 300 to 290 is going to be still pretty decent risk reward ratio here. If we end up breaking down over here on the weekly order block, you can see some daily order blocks down here. Around the 270 zone over here would potentially be an area to consider entering, and also in addition to 270s being a daily order block area, you can also see using the Fibonacci retracement, you see 270s is basically, I'm going to switch it to linear here. Basically, it's the 270s is basically 0.618. Wish we had a breakout, haven't really had a proper back test. Does it have to go all the way down to 270s again? Maybe, maybe not, but that would be a logical area for it to go down. If it goes down, I'm going to see what I can do to try to get more, because it's going to be drop that gorgeous at that point. Now, if it ends up going all the way down to the 240s, which would be the log fib over here around 0.786, that would also be a logical area for the back test. Does it have to go all the way down that far? Not necessarily. If it does, I think that would be a home wrecker level to consider getting into. I already made a whole video of Palantir. I'm not going to talk too much about Palantir. I just wanted to say that I still feel very good about Palantir. I think that is going to keep on going up higher over time, but a lot of the majority of the percentage gain has already been made. It's already went from $6 all the way to around 170s. I think even if it goes from 170s over to like $600, which is kind of one of my crazy targets, it would probably not have as much percentage gain anymore. I think the majority of the percentage gain has already been made. That's what I meant by that. So I'm actually kind of looking for like maybe an area to exit, because whenever a stock makes like 100x, that does get me a little bit worried, and that does get me a little bit, concerned here. When it comes to Hood, we're currently at resistance right now. I'm just going to show you here. This is again ARCT that is getting stuck here by, is in GAN jail. But honestly, how do I feel about Hood? I think Hood probably still has a lot more area to go. It could probably hit the ARCT up here. Probably hit the top of the square up here, maybe a little bit higher. I've shown some fit levels before. I think it's not unreasonable to expect it to keep going up higher over time, just because it's got a ton of momentum here, both in terms of the weekly chart and as also on the monthly chart here too. The Ballinger might continue to kind of expand to upside, with the Ichimoku continues to be going up. It's a little bit overextended, but that's okay. The way I see it is it already had probably made the majority of the game from like $6-7 all the way to 103. Even if it goes up to 300-400, I think majority of the percentage gain has already been made. So this is kind of an area where I'm just kind of thinking, hey, maybe I should kind of exit from somewhere. So here's the rest of the stuff. Why do I think Tesla is good? I think Tesla is good because I think it's near the bottom of a range. I think Tesla is good because I want to see it, and look at the weekly chart, it's going to be a lot more impaired. I want to see it hold the 0.786 here to close the week if possible. Regardless, I think this is still going to be kind of near the bottom of the range here. You can see the Ichimoku is kind of between the Tenkan and Kijun here for a very long time. For months, it's just stuck in the range. It's near the bottom of the range. And I think that if it's able to hold a 0.786, it's probably going to break the 0.86 here at some point. And if it does that, it's going to make some all-time highs here. Looking at the trend is still pretty favorable, because you look at the 20-month moving average, is still upward sloping here. This is an inside candle for 3 months in a row here so far. And the primary trend seems to be up because it's been forming higher highs and higher lows. ever since the beginning of 2023. So I think Tesla is a very good setup here to make some really decent high here. Plus it's also got a really, really beautiful cup and handle type formation here. So I think the setup is very good. Shopify is also very good. Big giant cup, already had the handle, already trying to break out the handle here. You can see that you look at the monthly bullish band here, you can see there's a little bit of initial expansion there, telling you something that's maybe a little bit more impulsive is going to happen. Looking at FIB retracement, which I already drawn before, I think it's going to get to 0.86 here. That's going to be a final boss. If it breaks, it's going to make some all-time high stuff. If it doesn't break, probably come back down here to 0.76 and go up again. Earnings coming up for this, but I like the setup here very good. SoFi, same thing. If it breaks to 0.86 here, if it finally breaks to 0.86, then I think this thing is going a lot higher. Bollinger Band's expanding here on the monthly. This is very, very impulsive uptrend. I think this is going to end up keep on going up for higher for longer here. Now Firm also doing something very positive here, although it is getting rejected unfortunately today at the 0.707 over here, where it is a little bit over it, but guess what? Monthly Bollinger Band is expanding, so this is a very impulsive bull trend that could end up continuing here, and it's probably going to get enough juice for you to push through the 0.707 here. We weren't able to do that before because the Bollinger Band wasn't expanded, you know, wide enough yet for it to do that. But I think we're getting ready to kind of break through and get to the next level here, 0.76 here, fairly soon, because I think the Bollinger Band is expanding. So I think that Affirm is very good. Iron is very good too. The reason why I think iron is very good is because it's broken above the 0.86 here. It got rejected here at 0.86 in the first try because the Bollinger Band is not expanding enough. But guess what? Bollinger Band is expanding on the monthlies. I think price is going to go up higher over time here. And once it gets through the 0.86, I think some all-time high stuff is going to happen, and it can get pretty insane if it does that. So I think that iron has a chance to be very, very good, and I lumped it into a very, very good list here. Galaxy Digital GLXY, I think it's also very good because it's the second month trying to re-challenge the 0.86. Once it breaks the 0.86, some higher, like all-time high stuff can happen. Not all-time high stuff, but you get it, like cycle high stuff can happen. And guess what? Bollinger Band's also expanding into the upside and the downside. You already broke out a monthly Ichimoku cloud. Looks like the thing once you keep going up higher, it already consolidated sideways over here underneath the 0.786 here for a very long time. It's all internal purposes, and you already back to the 0.786 here. Things getting ready to go. I think this thing actually looking very, very beautiful. Cup and handle and the breakout of the handle. Looks like it's getting ready to go higher, but the final boss is 0.86 here. I'm going to try to accumulate as much as I can between the 0.86 and 0.76, around the 20s here. And if it gives me more entry, I'll just accumulate more. My average currently has been around 25. I started accumulating down here. I think my average has just been kind of, cost averaging up because it looks like a good chart, and I don't mind, plus or minus a few dollars is fine for me. TIGR is a stock that I own as well. I think it's very good because it is breaking about the 0.5 FIB level over here, and the Bollinger Band is also fully expanding. It just has a little bit hard time breaking into the Ichimoku cloud, but I think it got enough energy to do that. Now that the Bollinger Band is expanding, it's probably got enough time for it to, or enough energy for it to kind of do that. It's no longer really all that overextended here. ARCT is another play that I have. It's a very, very small cap stock. I want to make sure that you know that it's very speculative. But it's basically an Adam and Eve double bottom formation with a backtest at 0.76 holding it. Now it's breaking about the 0.86, right? I think it's going to make some cycle highs up here. Probably hit some of these targets up here above. I love this setup here that we got currently going. It's looking pretty decent. If you also look at the volume, we've got some pretty huge volume that's been happening over the last couple months here, so it looks like a pretty good setup, and I have a small position of this. Another one that's very good is Cloudflare. I think it's about to break into all-time highs here. It already broke about the 0.86 here, back tested. It looks like it wants to just keep going higher. Bollinger Band's expanding very, very nicely. It's going to allow price to keep going up higher over time. HIMS, not HI, HIMS is another one that I really like here. Now, I'm not looking at the smaller time frame. I'm looking at the higher time frame. You can already see that $62 to $64 is going to be a very, very strong resistance zone. How we got rejected here about 7 months in a row. We've having a hard time trying to break through it, but I think it will be able to break through that because Bollinger Band is expanding. This is a bull trend here. Ichimoku Tenkan is rising. It's a bull trend here. It can correct all the way down to like the high 40s and still be bullish. Do I have a position in this? No, I just generally don't like to invest in healthcare companies, but that's just my own preference. FUTU about to break the 0.86. If it was able to break that, all-time high stuff is happening. Bollinger Band is expanding. This is one of those very, very, very good stock that I'm seeing. Now, what is something that is maybe a little bit less good, but still pretty good is SE. It's got a nice bullish candle over here, correct sideways over here for 3 months. the volume is a little bit declining over the last 3 months, right? It's still holding 0.618 over here. It could break down further as long as it doesn't break down below this green candle over here. I think this is a bullish engulfing candle with a rising 3 type pattern over here. Whenever it's done consolidating sideways over here, forming a bull flag, it's going to end up pushing up here to the next level of 0.786 is most likely. Bullish band is not expanding, which is why I'm like, it's good to very good, but it's not very, very good, MSTR, I think it's going to actually do pretty well here overall. Bullish band is expanding. It's losing a lot of momentum that it's had earlier in the cycle, but I think it's okay. I still think that it's very, very good to good because it's still holding the monthly Tenkan, is still holding a 1.44 level over here, is making higher highs and higher lows. I think it's getting ready for the next step up. I've talked about MSTR quite frequently, so I'm just gonna kind of leave that be. But I think it's still good to very good. Cypher, I think it's good. The reason why I don't think it's very good is because it's still underneath these resistance levels over here, including Ichimoku climbing the 0.707, including the fact that the bullish band is not expanded quite just yet. I still like to see a little bit more. I still like to see the 0.707 here break, and I still like to see the 0.76 over here break before I can really be very, very super bullish and think that this is very, very sexy. But it's looking pretty good so far. WOOF here, what do we got here? Same thing, right? We have a little bit of a breakout above the 0.5. We're back testing that here a little bit. Bullish band's not expanding yet, so we don't have that parabolic movement quite just yet here for WOOF. But it still look pretty good. BTBT, I think it's one of those good chart because I think that it's finally breaking above the 0.382 here. It already had that push all the way up to the upper bullish band here. But the thing about BTBT, what I think is good, is because I think I'm finally seeing the volume coming in. It's been coming sideways over here with increasing volume, a little bit of an accumulation type volume here. Whenever price goes up, there's increased volume. Whenever price goes down, there's declining volume. Price goes up, there's increased volume. Price goes down, there's declining volume. It looks like we're getting ready for some pretty big move here pretty soon for BTBT. Technically speaking, it is still kind of meh, but it's reclaiming the 20-month moving average, which makes it good on my book. Next one here is Alibaba. I think it's good. Why don't I think it's very good? Well, it hasn't really had that full Ballinger expansion quite just yet, but it's looking like it wants to get inside the Ichimoku cloud and break the 0.5 and get to the 0.618 here sooner rather than later. Another double bottom over here at AAVE. Broke through 0.382 resistance here, back tested perfectly. Holding Tenkan continuation over here, consolidating sideways here in declining volume. This thing looks like it wants to keep going higher. I like Alibaba where it's at, but the reason why I don't think it's very good is because I still think it's got a big giant Ichimoku cloud resistance up here above. So the gains is probably still going to be limited. It's not going to be like clear sky ahead like I was showing you some of the other stuff. They look like they're going to palantiring here pretty soon. I actually thought Celsius looks pretty good here. Forming higher highs and higher lows here for the most part. And the 20-month moving average still needs to be reclaimed, but the thing about it is you're about to hit the Ichimoku cloud here, so I think it might just scrape the Ichimoku cloud, maybe get down on it a little bit, and then use that as support to kind of push price up higher through 20-month moving average, and I think that it's got a good chance of doing that. Actually, I don't have anything against that, against Celsius yet. It's probably going to hit some resistance here, 0.618. Whenever it gets up there, is already hitting resistance here, 0.5. But I do think since it's hitting the monthly Ichimoku cloud, I think it's probably going to get enough power to kind of push through to go up higher. Why don't I think it's very good? Well, it's because it's still got a lot of resistance up here above. It's at some lower fit levels here, but it's still got a pretty good setup over here. So I think it's good. FUBO. Looking pretty decent. Bull flag, reclaiming the Tenkan Kishin over here. Looks like it's probably going to hit the cloud here somewhere. If it's up here somewhere, it's going to be $10. If it hits on the sideways over $7 or $5, I don't know where it's going to be, but the trend looks pretty good. If you're also looking at the Ballinger bands, it's expanding. This is one of those things that makes me think that things look good here, right? So I think FUBO is good. Why do I think it's like very good? Well, it's still got a big giant Ichimoku cloud resistance up here above, right? I don't know how it's going to react afterwards. But it looks like it's getting primed to challenge that area. So I think it's good, but it's not very good because of the resistance above. XPEV is another one I think is good. It's getting rejected at 0.5, but forming a beautiful double bottom over here. It's declining over here for the last 6 months here on declining volume. I think consolidation is probably happening. It's probably done, pretty soon. It's probably going to end up re-challenging the Ichimoku cloud up here. So why do I think it's just good and not very good? Well, it's still at the lower fit level, 0.5. Ichimoku cloud resistance here, got plenty of resistance up here above. So I think it's good, but it's not very good quite just yet. But it's a pretty good setup to be in. AMD, I kind of talk a little bit about this. All I'm really going to say here, AMD, is I think that the resistance zone up here is around 0.786, right? I mean, I think it's having a hard time kind of break about the 0.786. It went through a big move up here for a few months in a row, but it hasn't really hit that higher low yet. It's just been going up here on a straight line. I'll illustrate that more clearly on the weekly. It's just been going up in a straight line. It hasn't really hit any, major resistance or form a higher low yet. So it's not entirely healthy. Earnings coming up, I don't know what to make of it. A lot of things might be kind of pricing up here by this move. So I'm going to be maybe a little bit more cautious here when it comes to AMD, but it's good. It's a very, very good stock. Its bottom is hitting some of the major FIB level resistance levels above. We just need to see how it reacts with earnings. Oscar, I think it's good. I just don't really care about the stock because I don't really like to be in healthcare. It did break down underneath the Ichimoku monthly Tengen, which is not a good thing. But on the other hand, if you look at the FIB levels, it's basically just stuck in the golden pocket between the 0.61 and 0.76 at the lower part of the range of the golden pocket. Generally, I find that risk reward ratio to be better at the higher part of the golden pocket, unless it breaks out truly, which it didn't in a false breakout, but it didn't really break out truly. The reason why is because the Bollinger Band is contracting, But I still think that it's probably a good setup because it's a lower part of the range over here at a golden pocket. And it's, it is what it is sometimes. I think that it's just consolidating sideways over here, doing the necessary consolidations, also still within Ichimoku cloud here on the 2-week chart. It's just at the bottom of it. I think it's just at the bottom of a range. The cloud is green, is favorable. We'll see. I don't have a stake in Oscar. I don't really, feel one way or another. BB, I think it's a good setup here overall. I think that BB, BlackBerry, I had a position, but I sold. I was rebalancing to some of the very good stocks that I was showing you here. It did reclaim the 20-month moving average. It's probably going to make the next move up here after it's done consolidating. I don't know where it's going to end up getting done consolidating, but it's probably going to end up getting rejected initially here by the Tengen Kijun, but it's probably going to go up to the cloud here, which is a pretty decent 40-50% gain if it ends up doing that. I don't know when that's going to happen. I just, with this being a bull market, I just wanted to maybe chase something that has a little bit more juice here. Grab is the same story. I think it's forming a pretty decent base over here. I think it's probably going to grab it up here to the Ichimoku cloud up here above. And the Ichimoku cloud up here above is also coincidentally going to be at the 0.5 log FIB, right? So I think that's going to be a resistance level. That's a pretty decent gain from $5 all the way to $6. It's a good 20-25% gain, but I just don't really necessarily want to feel like waiting for that at this point. I think U is getting better. I think U is actually exiting out as bear trend. And I think U is actually a pretty decent stock here because it reclaimed the 20-month moving average here convincingly. It just simply hasn't had that higher high yet. You see that this is low high, lower high, lower high. It hasn't had that higher high yet because it hasn't broken about that high over there. But it also got a Bollinger Band contraction, so I don't think it's going to have enough momentum to push through higher. It's probably going to need to come back and backtest some of the stuff down here below. Where's it going to come back backtest? Maybe the 20-month moving average over there is flattening, right? Maybe it's going to be at the buy order block over here on the weekly, right? So we will see whether or not that ends up going down. If it ends up going down, I think it's going to be a very, very good area to enter. GME, I think, is okay. It's just stuck in range here on the weekly. As you can see, the buyer block and the seller blocks over here is at the lower part of the range. I think it's good because of that. But initially, one thing I was kind of paying attention to, it kind of lost the 20-month moving average here a little bit. I really like to see it holding on to the 20-month moving average because if it does, then you can I'd be a lot more convinced this is really truly a bull trend. But so far, it's just kind of, like going sideways over here, and it's kind of starting to lose the 20-month moving average here a little bit. Do I care? Probably not, because the volume has just been low. Whatever move is make is meaningless. All of this stuff is just still a big giant inside 50-something inside candle. So this big giant green candle over here. Primary trend is up after it's done consolidating sideways over here. After it's done, using this as an inside candle. After it's breaking out, it's probably going to end up resuming the primary trend, which is going to be up. So I still think a big move is coming for GME. I just don't know when, and it's just been, unfortunate. There's no volume coming in. I can't really say anything about it. Mara is basically the same story. Consolidated sideways over here for about 2 years, increasing volume over here with this uptrend here. But it's just simply need to repair these technical damage here. Need to break above the 20-month moving average. But if you look at a higher time frame, I actually like the setup here because it is over 40-month moving average and you got a Bollinger Band squeeze here. This just means that on a very, very higher time frame suggests like maybe a bigger move is going to come. But I cannot say that this is very good. I'm just saying that it's okay because it still needs to repair is technical damage. The other one here, that's basically a very similar road here, is Clean Spark. It's getting a break about 0.618 over here. Did break inside the monthly Ichimoku cloud, but is still underneath the tank indication resistance up here. We need to have a little bit more juice to get up to the top of the cloud, break the cloud before it becomes very good. We just simply really haven't had that. So this consulting sideways over here is boring a lot of people, but I still find that to be okay to hold. We now keep holding here. Rivian, I think, is forming a pretty decent base here. Initially, I was hoping the Tenkan over here would hold. Initially, I was hoping the 20-month moving average here would hold. But it's basically got a consolidation over here for a very long time. And if you also look at the RSI here, has been basically going sideways or increasing RSI here with increasing bullish momentum here, building up for a while. Bullish band squeeze happening, 20-month moving averages turning flat. I think our Rivian is probably going to end up doing pretty decent over time, but so far it's okay. I can add slowly, it's fine. Another one that I have is RX. I do think that this is probably a high volume spring over here. We do have consolidation over here. We are reclaiming 20-week moving average. I'm going to turn off the Bollinger Band over here. I'm going to basically show you this Wyckoff consolidation pattern over here. This is Wyckoff accumulation. Usually you have these troughs and peaks and troughs and peaks and troughs. Whenever it gets down here, everybody's all demoralized. This usually is a spring. There's a huge volume over here, suggesting there's a lot of buying activity, a lot of stocks being traded hands over here. And it looks like we might be just trying to break the test over here. And I think that whenever it's been consolidating sideways over here, it's probably going to keep going up higher. But, you know, because this is still at lower levels, it hasn't really formed any higher highs and higher lows, I think it's okay. I can take my time to buy. This is not anything in a rush. I just like the setup. It's a small position. It's fine. PayPal is painful, right? PayPal is okay because it's been forming mostly higher highs and higher lows. PayPal is okay because the 20-month moving average is flattening and there's a big giant downtrend here that has been corrected. And so far you've been forming mostly higher highs and higher lows here. PayPal is fine because I like the 2-month setup where you have a Bollinger Band squeeze here, suggesting that over the next few years it's going to be a pretty decent move on the way up here. But I think you can take your time here with PayPal, and I'm not going to buy it right now. The other one that's okay is Baidu. I really cannot really recommend anybody buying Baidu. I don't recommend stocks anyway, but it's underneath the 20-month moving average until it breaks above and back tests and go higher. It's still going to be a bear trend, but it's been flattening. It's forming an Adam and Eve bottom over here. The Eve can keep going for another year or two. Who knows? It's been a very, very big laggard over here, but I do think it's got a good chance of a bottoming formation here forming. I just need to see it actually confirming it. And also, I don't know how long the base formation is going to form. It's gonna happen, so it's going to take a long time. Nike, what I think about Nike, until it breaks above the 20-month moving average, I think it's still a bear trend. It's still a falling knife. Low highs and lower lows. I don't care if it makes 3 months in a row of recovery here. It's not good enough for me. 20-month moving average is still negatively sloping. It's still going to serve as pretty decent resistance here. No thank you. What do I think about Pfizer? I think Pfizer is looking a little bit better, still falling though because it's still underneath the 20-month moving average, but I do think that Pfizer already had multiple capitulation event with high volume selling and buying over here. Stocks trading hand from the weak to the strong here. You're also building a little bit of a bullish divergence here, double tap on the Bollinger Band. These are the things that if I was going to catch a falling knife, maybe Pfizer would be one that I would catch, but there's no guarantee it's going to be okay. So I'm going to stay away from Pfizer here, but I think Pfizer, I would call this bad because it's still underneath the 20-month moving average. It's still a downtrend. It's still falling knife, but it could be bottoming. That's what I'm going to say about that. PEP, bearish, right? 20-month moving average, extremely negative. You can use that as a trade for a reversion to the mean, but I would not use it for anything else. This is still a very bearish trend here, and it's going to take time to repair. I'm going to stay the heck away from that. UNH, what do I think? I've been making a lot of posts on this. Do I think that UNH may have bottomed? It could have. I don't know for sure. I just don't like it when you have the monthly Bollinger Band expanding like this. And you're kind of a little bit outside of Bollinger Band here. I think it's going to end up having a pretty decent bounce. I just don't know whether or not this is the bottom. There is, however, a lot of buying block that is happening behind the scene. You're entering a monthly buying block over here, which is pretty significant. I don't really see it here on the weekly or the daily, but on the monthly I have a buying block over here, which, hey, maybe this is a temporary local bottom. Maybe it's going to form a base over here. I do not know that for sure because this is still a very, very powerful downtrend. It is bad. I'm going to stay away from that. And FIZZ is bad because initially I thought that was got a little bit of bullish divergence over here. It's going to be bouncing from here. Nope. I'm not doing that. I was buying in phase. I sold up right around here, I think around like the 50s. It kept on going down after that. I lost maybe like, some little tiny bit of money. It's fine. It was a small position anyway. Continue to increase volume selling over here. I don't know where the bottom is. It could be here. It could be lower. It could be in the teens. I don't know. I'm going to stay away from end phase here for foreseeable future. NEO is going on, well, until it reclaims the 20-month moving average. I can't really be that bullish on it. But if it ends up ending the month reclaiming the 20-month moving average over here and closing above for the first time, then I might change my mind. I like the Bollinger Band squeeze here, suggests a trend change. You do have a high volume candle over here that's bullish engulfing over the last 7-8 months, which is good, but I just need to see that final confirmation. If I don't see that, it could still be a downtrend. It could still make another leg lower. But I like NEO better here compared to how it has been over the last 3 years, but it's still not good enough for me to want to enter it. SBET, what I think long term is probably bullish, is holding 20-month moving average. Short term, I maybe it's going to hit the rising 20-week moving average here, but sometimes when it's not it's not really forming a higher high here. I don't know what exactly it's going to do. It's okay. I have no idea. I'm just going to stay away from it when I don't have any idea, right? BMNR, a stock that's very, very hot. People talk about it a lot. Does it have a little bit further down to go to the 20-week moving average? I don't know. Is that going to be it? It just needs to tap the upper Bollinger Band here on the monthly. Maybe that's it. I would never buy up here in the 100s, like way outside the monthly Bollinger Band. Heck no, that's not a good area to buy, right? And even down here at like the 30s and 40s, I would not buy whenever it's way outside the upper Bollinger Band. I might be considering over here, but ultimately, how it's going to go, I have no idea. And if I don't know, I'm going to stay away. And then finally, I never really like Metaplanet that much anyway. It's been on a downtrend. It's been, not doing very well. I do think that maybe the sell volume over here is kind of declining a little bit. How low does it go? I don't know. I'm gonna stay away. I never really like this play anyway. Anyways, a 27-minute video to explain a very lazy pose. Because I have time, I just figure I'll talk to you about it and verbalize in terms of what my thinking process is. Thank you so much for listening, guys. Have a good one. Bye.